Mel. Got a rather difficult subject to talk about today, but I really feel it's important to talk about it. And it's autism in women and girls and sexual abuse. So it's a really hard subject to talk about, a really hard subject to listen to. So just beware. I wanted to explain my story with regard to that briefly. When I was 14, I'd only had one boyfriend, and he had ditched me because I wouldn't let him put his hand up my top. And so I was just your standard naive, inexperienced teenager, which, you know, at 14 I should have been. And I was asked out by a friend of my brother's, and he was 18. And of course I was flattered. I didn't have many friends, I didn't have much experience, but I was flattered and I agreed to go out with him. And he wanted to take things further physically, and I said no, but he persevered, and he was actually given by my family unlimited access to me, day and night, with no restrictions, no caution, no care. And as a result, I was then coerced into a sexual relationship which I didn't want, I didn't enjoy, and it was illegal. It was underage. It was certainly immoral because I didn't want it, but it was happening in my own home. I couldn't get away from it. So not only did my family not protect me from that, they enabled the abuse, they also, one of my family also made mean remarks to me about notches on my bedpost. Now, for you lovely literal thinkers, that is a remark implying that I've had lots of sexual partners, because there's a notch on my bedpost for every person I've had sex with. So not only was I abused, and enabled, that abuse was enabled by my family, but I was also judged and ridiculed by my family for that. So of course I believed it was my fault. I shouldn't have said yes, it was my own fault for saying yes and making those decisions, and that's where my family led me to feel. It wasn't until probably 10 years later, when my first serious relationship was starting to go off the rails because of this early experience, I started to see a therapist who talked me through the fact that I was abused. I was 14 when we started going out. I was 15 when we split up. So it was never at any point a legal sexual relationship. So I realised that it wasn't my fault, and that was a really big leap to take. And I never spoke to my family about it, and I still haven't spoken to most of my family about it at the age of nearly 50. So if you watched a previous episode, you'll know I was having an existential crisis the other day about what exactly does this diagnosis mean for me. And this is one of those things that it means. That this 14, 15-year-old girl who was being abused was actually a special needs, autistic, highly vulnerable girl. So the diagnosis changes. I don't think it changes my views about my family. They didn't know I was autistic. Autism, or Asperger's, was only invented around about that time, and certainly there was no indication from anywhere that I was autistic. So I don't think it changes how I feel about my family. But it makes it all the more clear that it was not my fault. I was not responsible. And what it brings to the fore, because I've been chatting about this on Facebook, is what a huge problem this is, because what a wonderful target undiagnosed autistic women and girls are for abuse of this kind. We're already used to not fitting in. So when somebody says to us, this is not the way you're meant to do it, you're not meant to say no, when you've got a boyfriend you're meant to say yes, we're much more ready to accept that we're doing it wrong. We need to do it right. Where we don't necessarily have very many friends, and having somebody who shows interest in us is very flattering, and we're easy prey for that. And if we're undiagnosed, then nobody knows how vulnerable we are. And this is really, really huge. My own daughter is now diagnosed, and I am certainly taking greater care of her than was taken of me. As luck would have it, she's gay, and I may be naively thinking this, but I feel she is less likely to be abused in this way by a woman than she would be by a man. I guess that all remains to be seen, but I am very vigilant, and I will be very careful to make sure that she is entering into relationships that are appropriate and consensual, not to say legal. I guess this brings me back to a central point, which is we need to be diagnosing girls. We need to be spotting them earlier and diagnosing them so that we can give them the support they need, and even into adulthood. In adulthood, undiagnosed autistic women are a great target still, and we need to be picking that up a lot earlier. Okay, so as before, if this is an issue for you as well and you want to enter into a public discussion about it, then please put a comment below. If you would rather talk about it privately, then this is my email. Send me a personal email, and nothing that we talk about will be shared. I just really want to start the conversation and to see the size of the problem, and to start thinking about what we can do to stop this from happening. Thanks for watching.